Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every Thursday, we're joined by a brand new martial artist talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today grew up in Israel and regularly visited the cinema, with Bruce Lee being an idol and influence. He started training in martial arts at an early age, has trained in numerous styles, opening his own school in 1979. As a young man, he completed mandatory military service in the Israel Army for 3 years before studying film and television at Tel Aviv University. His first short film in 1987 was called Farewell Terminator and won 7 awards at Mograbee Film Festival. In 1988, he moved to America to pursue a career in film, with his first break coming after joining the production team on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as a stunt coordinator. In 1992, he directed his first feature film, Desert Kickboxer. He's gone on to direct such notable projects as Ninja, Special Forces, which helped launch the career of Scott Adkins, Undisputed II and III, WMAC Masters, and many, many more. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Isaac Florentine. How are you doing today, sir?
Thank you. I'm doing really well. Thank you so much.
Good. I appreciate your time. So what we like to do, I want to go back to the beginning and kind of find out what led you to martial arts. Where did that first spark come from? Where did your interest in martial arts start?
So as a kid growing up in Israel, martial arts was really Japanese martial arts. Mm-hmm. This was judo in the 60s, and then I heard about karate. I heard about karate first, I think, in 1967. And then, as a child, I saw a James Bond movie, You Only Live Twice.
Nice.
Now, You Only Live Twice, I don't know if you remember, there were it was shot in Japan, but there were some scenes that really had top martial artists. Karate, it was Masoyama and his students, Kyokushinkai guys. There was the Katori Shintoryu school of sword, and basically they kind of played as the local ninja, and actually that school originated in the 14th century, so really had elements of ninjutsu, and the head of the school, chief instructor Otake, was in the movie.
Oh, wow.
And I was really blown away from karate and the sword playing of that movie. As a child, I went and saw it in matinees again and again and again, like about 4 times without even telling my parents.
Nice. Okay.
When they found about it, they were pretty upset. But this was really the opening for me to explore the window to martial arts. At that time, I remember asking my brother, that is 8 years older than me, about karate, and I asked him, can you really jump that high, and can you really hit somebody and kill him in one blow? And he told me, yes, that's correct. About 2 years later, the Tokyo Circus arrived to Israel, and they had to Tel Aviv, and they had like karate demonstrations there. And again, I went to see it about 3 times only for the karate demonstrations. It started to be a dream of mine to learn karate. In 1971, Billy Jack arrived to Israel. I think it was 71. But also, they opened a dojo close to where I lived.
Okay.
And I asked my parents to go and study there. They were totally against it because they were Holocaust survivors, and for them, karate was violence. But me being me, I was a good student, and I was like a squeaky wheel, drove them crazy until they basically said, okay, fine. In one condition, keep on playing the guitar. And until now, I still keep playing the guitar. Basically, I went to the dojo, and I was told that I cannot start with karate because karate was really for the tough guys. and I was still young, I had to start with judo. So I started with judo, and after a few months driving everybody crazy, they let me go into the karate class, karate training.
Okay.
Now, the style that was taught in that dojo was Kyokushinkai, which is actually Masoyama style.
Yes.
2 years later, the instructor, his name was Gideon Kadari, he left the dojo to open a new dojo. And into that dojo, a Japanese instructor arrived. His name was Hiroshi Kurihara. And he taught a combination of Shitoryu, that was Motobua Shitoryu, or what was called today Kuniba Kai, or Seishin Kai, and Shotokan. The story was that he started with Shotokan, but at a certain point, his instructor moved to Shitoryu, and he taught that blend.
Okay.
And I kept training. I stayed in that dojo. I kept training there. To have a Japanese instructor in Israel in the early 70s was something extraordinary, because I think that all of the population from the Far East that you could find there in Israel, you could count them in, two hands. There were none. There are none,
Okay.
So it was really something extraordinary. I was a meticulous teacher who was very giving a lot of emphasis to the final point and the mechanics of karate. In 1975, I kind of, after training for 4 years, and I started to be obsessed in karate already from the beginning, because there was so much of a rejection for me training it. So when I started, I kind of promised myself that I will never, never, ever leave. So no matter what, I will never leave. So I was really obsessed about karate and obsessed about its technique. And at a certain point, I started feeling that traditional karate was not really the answer. At that time, also, Muay Thai kind of started to arrive to Israel, and I was contemplating whether to leave or not to leave. And then, by chance, the person that I really see as my teacher, Thomas Weber from Sweden, was visiting Israel. And by chance, he came to the dojo of Hiroshi. And he taught there, and that lesson I will never forget all my life, because it was pretty amazing what he did and what he taught and how he taught. And basically, after that session, I said, okay, that's exactly what I'm looking, because what he did was efficient, it was natural, it was logical, and it had exactly what I was looking for karate. It was a combination between kicks and punches and sweeps, and it was all about efficiency.
Okay.
And I basically kept on training. In 1976, I joined the army, as you said, stayed 3 years in the army. And in the army, I trained everywhere I went. I trained with whoever was there, with Shotokan practitioners and Goju-Ryu practitioners. No matter what, no matter who, I was at this passion to learn more and more and more. In 1978-79, again, Thomas Weber arrived to Israel, and I was tested then to my first dan. And he came again a few months later with one of his students, and I saw the student, and he was as explosive as him. And I said to myself, so it's not him, it's the way he's teaching. And I asked him if I can go into his dojo in Sweden and train there. And he said, no problem, you're welcome. Whenever you want, you can sleep in the dojo. Basically, I went after my military service to Sweden, stayed there for a few months, and basically ever since then, kept very, very close connections with him until today. And that's almost 50 years later.
Wow. Okay. And so, and what style was that? Was that the same style, or was that a different style also?
So what he was teaching was his blend of Shitoryu. I'll be technical, okay?
Okay.
The base, he started with what was called combat judo in the early 50s as a kid. Then karate arrived to France. Then he grew up in France. He was an orphan. He grew up in France. Karate arrived to the dojo of Henri Play, and that was Shotokan. But later, he went to the French army, served in the French Foreign Legion, was wounded in Algeria, returned and kept on training with Yoshinao Nambu. Yoshinao Nambu brought Shitoryu to Europe. That blend of Shitoryu was called Tani-ha Shitoryu or Shukokai. At a certain point, he opened his own stream that was called Sankokai. And for me, it was the nicest karate I've ever seen because it was a nice blend of kicks, punches, sweeps, including spinning hook kicks, stuff that you didn't see in Japanese karate, but it was very basic in that karate, like hook kicks, spinning hook kicks. Today, everybody does it, but think about it. In the 60s, people did not do it, especially, in the 70s, they started to do it, and these were our basic techniques, really. Into that, because he was in the French Foreign Legion, in the Algerian War, and also was teaching the police, he had a lot of techniques that were efficient for self-defense. And for me, as an Israeli, it was something very interesting because in Israel, we have what is called Krav Maga.
Yep.
And most of us Israelis also train in Krav Maga. And I knew the founder, Imi Lichtenfeld, pretty well. So it was very logical to train in that karate. It was all about efficiency, yet it was elegant and you can say classical, but not rigid. Okay. Very open-minded.
Nice. You had opened your own school. At what point did you start teaching and decide that was something you wanted to do? Kind of what led you to the teaching side of it?
So I got obsessed with karate the day I started. Like I said, I knew that I got an opportunity to study something that was some kind of a technology. And besides this, it was something that was mystic or exotic, coming from a small country then of 2 million people where there are no people from the Far East. This was like opening a window to a different world, especially in a country that was then surrounded by enemies. Karate, it kind of took me to a different world. So I started teaching in 1978 when I was still in the army, but they let me teach, and I taught the cadets of the Israeli Air Force that was in Haifa. And then in 1979, when I finished my military service, I opened my first dojo. And something really interesting, I don't know if you remember, in 1972, in the Olympic Games, a squad of terrorists, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, killed the Israeli athletes, 12 athletes. Yep. And the majority of them were the weightlifting team. The weightlifting team were training in a hall that was in Tel Aviv. And for years, that hall was kind of empty. That hall was the dojo, or the dojo that I opened was in that hall.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, after a few years in that dojo, I opened other branches, but this stayed my main dojo.
Okay.
The main interest for me was not really to open something commercial, was something for me to continue and train hard. I didn't have kids, I had only adults. And basically in the morning, I was in Tel Aviv University studying, and in the evenings, I was in the dojo.
Okay. And then, so how long did you teach for?
I taught until I came to the States in 1988. But here I kept on teaching, and I still teach, but totally voluntarily.
Oh, okay.
I teach now in Stuart at the Stuart Martial Arts Center. I do it totally voluntarily. I teach seminars around the world totally voluntarily. Okay. Whoever invites me, I will go and I will teach, because I totally believe that everything that I achieved in my life is because of karate. Let's say karate for me, but let's say martial arts, or the right spirit of martial arts. And it's really, I was lucky, and I think basically I would like to give back in one hand. And also I love to train. I really love to train.
Nice. So thinking back to when you first started teaching to today, when you're still doing it, what do you think has changed the most about your teaching style over the years?
So I think that karate today became more of a sport, and it's in a way a bit softer than the way it was. If you look at karate of the 70s, it was kind of hard knocks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we used to fight and get bloody. Today, it's maybe a little bit more scientific, but I find it to be less as a martial art, more as a sport. The same with kata. Kata, when we train, was about the application of it. And today I see, let's say, at competition, people that are doing kata super high level,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very academic. It's almost like balletic. And some of a lot of those katas I cannot do. It's like, and they do it amazingly, but it's kind of lost in a way, sometimes its soul and its purpose.
Right.
The idea of, let's say, kata
Mm-hmm.
was not to do so many katas. If you look, I just give you an example. Ken Wamabuni was the founder of Shitoryu. He preserved 64 katas.
Wow.
Preserve it doesn't mean that you have to go and to do 64 katas,
Mm-hmm.
because from so many trees you don't see the forest. The idea was you train 2 or 3 katas that are yours and you understand them deeply, and the others is just to, if you do it, to understand other stuff, or for other students to choose whatever they want.
Okay.
Kind of less is more. If you look at, look at Wing Chun. They do only 3 katas.
Yeah.
Look at Goju-ryu. Goju-ryu karate is only 12 katas. You don't, even this is a lot. You don't need any more.
Right.
Less is more.
I like that. That's cool. So you kind of mentioned tournaments. Is that something, did you ever do competition when you were younger for martial arts?
I did some competition. I'm not really a big fan of it. Yes, I did, because I had to do it, especially when I was a student at Tel Aviv University. You had to represent university. I think that competition are excellent thing for youngsters because it teaches you to work under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very good lesson. But I think that sport karate is killing karate. Like the minute that judo became a sport, it lost its popularity. So the same with taekwondo. I mean, when taekwondo was a martial arts, they were doing more techniques, more sweeping techniques. They don't do it anymore. So it's the minute that the martial arts become martial sport, in a way, it becomes maybe more popular. But I think that it loses its purpose.
And I think when people see that, they think that's what martial arts is, and that's all. They don't see a wide enough view. Like, I train at a traditional taekwondo school. Yes, we do tournaments, but our focus is traditional, and we still do traditional forms and traditional techniques. And it's not like Olympic style where they're throwing 1,000 kicks without even raising their hands up. We actually do punches and stuff, but most people hear taekwondo and they think Olympics. That's all they think. And now after karate being in the Olympics, I'm afraid that's going to start happening to karate now too. They're going to see what happened in the last Olympics and think that's what karate is, and that's not.
Exactly. Now, is that ITF or WTF that you were? We're
under WTF, yes, correct. But we use WTF for rules when we compete. But it's directly through the Kukiwan, and it's under Chungmu Kwan is the Kwan we're under. Our great grandmaster is a 10th degree black belt from Korea, and my instructor is an 8th degree. I've been training with him since 1994.
So I'll tell you something that maybe you don't know. First, in the 60s, I don't know how old you are, I'm 64.
Mm-hmm.
In the 60s, Taekwondo was called Korean karate. There was no difference.
Exactly.
And until 1955, Taekwondo was not even called Taekwondo. It was a bunch of styles that were taught or trained by Korean. A lot of them were soldiers in the Japanese army. Mm-hmm. A lot of them, by the way, trained in Kyoto. And then you had Chondokwan, Modokwan, etc.
Yep.
And in 1955, they had to reunite under the umbrella of General Che, and it was called Taekwondo. But General Che himself was studying Shotokan Karate.
Yep.
The only style that kind of refused to do it was Tang Soo-do. And if you look at Tang Soo-do, it stayed, the syllables are Shotokan, are the old or Shotokan style.
Yep.
So even Taekwondo origins are more in Japanese, but not really Japanese. It's all Okinawan style. So, and Okinawan, I mean, karate came from China, basically. It's from southern Chinese style, like Fukian. But you're right. I mean, it changed, you know. I have a good friend, Herr Perez.
Oh, yes.
He was Olympic gold medalist in Barcelona in 1992.
Yep.
And when he started training, it was still Korean karate, you know.
Yep.
And, you know, it's changing.
Herb was on my show last year, so.
Okay,
yep.
so okay.
Yep, good guy. I like Herb.
So basically, that's what it is. And if you look at all the Taekwondo books, let's say take the book of Son. I'm just right now in my library looking at it.
Oh.
The book is by Dak Sang Son. It was written in 1968. If you look at the katas, at the forms, it's Pinan forms.
Okay.
What I'm trying, even the names, Pyongan, Pinan, Pyongan in Korean, Pinan in Japanese or Okinawan.
Yep.
So the styles were very similar or were really united until in the 70s where there was the break between ITF and WTF and new katas were invented.
Yep.
But anyway, that's my 2 cents about Taekwondo.
Yep.
I mean, I love it. It's amazing. It's great. But like you said, part of it became a sport. Yes,
right. Exactly. I've noticed that too because my first style when I was 10 years old was Tang Soo Do. I was actually Mudak Kwan Tang Soo Do when I was 10 years old, and then when I was in high school, I studied Shotokan, and then I started Taekwondo when I was in college. So I noticed a lot of similarities between all three of them, and a lot of differences and stuff. Some differences, but very very similar. A lot of even some of the terminology it was the same and stuff. So yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about. Because
the three of them came from basically, in a way, the source is really Gishin Funakoshi, or then he brought it from Okinawa. It was, but yes, that's what it is. Yes.
Now you said Bruce Lee was a big influence on you. So what made you decide? Yeah, what made you decide to turn to movies? What made you decide that you wanted that to be part of your life?
So, as a child growing up in Israel, TV came really late. And then you had one TV station that was broadcasting maybe 2-3 hours a day, and it was pretty lousy. So really, you go to see movies, a lot of movies. I grew up on Westerns, my favorite genre, especially the Italian Westerns. And I became really a film aficionado after watching Sergio Leone movies. And I remember in 1972, I went and I saw Fist of Fury, that was called The Chinese Connection.
Yep.
And I was blown away. I was blown away because the first movie that I saw, Chinese movie, came was what was called Five Fingers of Death. And I didn't like it. It was, for me, the techniques were sloppy. The story was dumb. It was too violent. And I said, I don't think I want to see another Chinese movie. Then Fist of Fury came. And my sensei then recommended it. Actually, we did shows, demonstrations in the theater. So I went and I saw the movie, and I was blown away. I was blown away by, I remember the movie ended up, and when I was walking home, it was like walking on clouds. And I finally realized first you can do a subgenre of making martial arts movies. It's a total subgenre by itself. And from really that day, I said, okay, my life, I want, of course, to continue to train martial arts as much as I can until the end, my last day. But I'd like to do movies. Now, think about it. I'm a kid in a small country, 2 million people, doesn't even speak English, or limited English. And it was a little bit of a weird dream, but this is where I got the passion for it. Now, I just want to tell you a few things. Let's talk technical.
Okay.
Let's just talk technical. In Okinawan karate, the kicks that you have there are front kick, groin kick, and side stamping kick to the knee, okay? These are the kicks that you have in Okinawan karate. People are unaware that the roundhouse kick, hook kick, and side kick were not really in original Chinese or Japanese martial arts or Okinawan,
right,
and of course Korean. They came from French Savate. People are unaware of it, that karate in a way is a synthesis between East and West. So basically, the sidekick was introduced to karate in the 20s and 30s. But I don't know if you remember, with the way that you learned, let's say, to do a sidekick from, let's say, a horse riding stance, was you step forward. You're right. You bring it's like a cross step, but you bring the leg in front of your kicking leg.
Right.
And when you do it, the kick really is slow and you really block your hip. But that's the way it was taught. And until now, many Japanese style are teaching it in this way, because sometimes in Japanese style, once it becomes the dogma, they will, or canonized, they will never change it. They will stick to the mistake.
Right.
Okay. So basically, you go and you see a Bruce Lee movie, and you see he's doing the step like from a horse riding stance as a skipping step, or the step is from behind. Okay. That's the way he did it, like Savat. The same he did with the hook kick. Nobody used to kick then a hook kick. So what I'm saying is, you saw those techniques and they were innovative. And as a child, then I started to adopt the sidekick the way he did it, and which helped me in sparring, because remember, I was then 13, 14, 15, not really fully mature. And it helped me. And then karate was all about sparring, but it helped me to understand and to make those techniques efficient.
Okay.
I used to go with a pad to the movie theater, because I used to see those movies again and again and again. I used to go with a pad and write the techniques on a piece on the pad, of course, because it's dark. It's like you write on top, one line on top of the other. You have to understand what you wrote after. This is how much his influence was so big, not only on me, I think it's a whole generation.
Yes, I agree.
I remember around 1979 or something like this, suddenly I saw someplace a video of Fists of Fury, VHS, and I said, wow, now I can take the movie, it's a VHS, and I can dissect and see the techniques and learn it again and again and again. That was suddenly a new tool really to understand his techniques.
Right.
Before, it was all magazines. I used to have magazines. I still have, I think, the original Black Belt magazine since 1961.
Wow.
Official Karate magazine, a big library. Actually, I learned English reading those magazines. This is how I improved my English.
That's cool.
So,
nice.
Anyway, that's the story.
Okay. So then you got to the U.S. Well, first of all, you went to film and television school, and then
Yes.
you decided to come to the U.S. to pursue this. So did you always plan on making martial arts part of your movies?
Absolutely.
Nice.
That was exactly. I came to do one thing, what was called low budget B movies, martial arts movies. This was the dream. This was my goal. I never ever thought about A movies or big studio movies, because I'm very grounded. I was trying to think really logical. And coming me as a foreigner, I felt that I have enough confidence in martial arts background and the way that I can show it or showcase it in a movie. That
Right.
was exactly my plan. And actually, I got this dream, or not this dream, this plan, or the idea to try to make it as a reality after watching American Ninja.
Nice. Michael
that was
Dudikoff. Yep.
Yeah. Sam Fistenberg. I was then living in Israel, and I remember seeing it, and I sat after with my wife, or was working with my wife, and I told her, you know something, I can do this kind of movies. And she looked at me like I'm absolutely out of my mind.
You proved her wrong, though.
So, yeah.
That's cool. Talk about that first one, the Desert Kickboxer. What was that kind of experience like, and doing your first feature film? And talk a little bit about that experience.
So let me just before I arrived at the end of 1988, actually I arrived at my birthday. I was 30 years old, 1988.
Okay.
July. And I knew really nothing. All I had was a short that was an award-winning movie.
Yep.
And in Hebrew. And I kind of started to get acquainted with producers that were doing action movies, low-budget action movies. And somehow I convinced a few of them to do the fight choreography in those movies. And then I got the chance to do some second unit. Remember, these were what I called some of them bottom of the barrel movies.
Okay.
Then, so I started to understand how the industry works. And basically, I understood that I need a script. Now, I'm not a writer, but I had an idea that was actually a Western based on a real character, and I should talk about it after, but
Okay.
I co-wrote it with somebody, with a friend, and then I said, no, you still need some money to do it. Let's see what can be done really with a shoestring budget. And I came with the idea of what was called Desert Talk, then was changed to Desert Kickboxer.
Mm-hmm.
And that was supposed to be a movie that you can do for absolutely nothing.
Okay.
So by then, Canon Picture closed. And Canon Picture for me was the model because the person who was heading it was Menachem Golan, that was a legend.
Yes.
He's the guy who gave Van Damme the chance. He's the guy that really helped Chuck Norris. And he closed the company, opened a small company called 21st Century. To make a long story short, he knew the short that I did because his wife was the one that gave me the prize that was in Israel. And I don't know if you remember Panther Productions. They were doing martial arts.
Yep, definitely.
I did 10 videos for Panther Production that was Shitoryu Karate.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So basically, he saw 10 boxes with my name in there and my face in there. And probably what he thought is, somebody already put some money on that dude. And I like the movie that he did. And it seems basically when an Israeli meets an Israeli, it's what's your name? Where are you from? What did you do in the army? Or where did you serve in the army? Mm-hmm. You kind of get to know, who is in front of you.
Right.
And I told him, look, I have this script. It's for a feature. And he basically said, will it be a 90-minute movie? I told him, yes. He said, okay, do it. And this is how I got my first chance. Wow. Now, I had 16 days to shoot it.
Really?
And that's a hard shoot.
Yeah.
And I promised myself, I said to myself, okay, I have to finish it in 16 days, no matter what. So they will not say, I lied to them, I'm a crook or something. No matter what, I'm going to finish it in 16 days. I finished it on 16 days. And somehow, by luck, it was sold to HBO. HBO then were something big. And they tried to sell a few movies to HBO then, and they didn't manage to do it. And somehow HBO bought this movie.
That's where I saw it, HBO.
So he was happy, and I was happy. That was basically, it was very, very low budget, but it was a feature film.
It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. So, and I definitely have to mention your second one, just because I was just going through your list. I completely forgot you directed Savat with another former guest of mine, Olivier. He was on my show also.
So here's the story about Savat. So my favorite genres are the Westerns. And Savat was always something very interesting for me because it's European. It's not from the Far East. And the kicks are amazing. And I couldn't prove, I didn't have the proof, but I felt that karate was influenced by Savat. Now we know that for sure, huh?
Yes.
And I based the movie, I love history. If not for me doing movies, I would still be in Israel. I would be a history professor because my love is history, and would continue to teach, have probably many dojos around me.
Okay.
But anyway, I did the research, and the person that really influenced Savat most of all was Joseph Charlemont. Joseph Charlemont was even the teacher of Alexander Dumas, who wrote The Count of Monte Cristo and the Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
Yes. And basically, here's the interesting part. He was an officer in the French army in 1865. He was in Mexico when Napoleon III was trying to intervene in Mexico. That was with the Juarez Revolution, and mainly Italian Westerns were done about that era. And I said, wow, here's an opportunity to do a Western with martial arts. I basically took the model of Shane, that was also redone a few times. Even Clint Eastwood did it with Pale Rider.
Yep.
And basically, this is how Savat came about. And I basically had the script, nothing happened with it. Then I met some producer that had a family in France, actually, in Monte Carlo. and knew what I was talking about. It took an option. Nothing happened for a year. Meanwhile, in that year, I was doing Power Rangers. And anyway, nothing happened for a year. And then they wanted to do it. And basically, I did that movie.
Nice. That's another good one. I remember that one when I was younger. And I do definitely want to mention one more because one of my favorites, I love the movie Ninja. It's such a good movie. I've probably watched it about 10 times already. So absolutely.
The first or the second?
The first one.
The original.
Yeah, I like them both, but the first one I've seen about 10 times. And I'm a big Scott Adkins fan too. I'm actually hopefully trying to get him on the show in the future too. He's another guest I want to get on, but yeah, I'll watch anything with Scott in too. So
this was done in 2009.
Yes.
And so my concept, and it was a mistake of mine, I have to admit it, was because there was some more money in doing it. And I said, okay, if Batman is learning with ninjutsu, we let the ninja be a superhero in a way to be more. I tried to give it a comics book feeling. I regret that I did it, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to fix it with the second movie.
Okay.
There's some scenes there that I really love. And of course, I love that whatever we shot all of the beginning is in Japanese. And you have to know that the last thing that we shot, when the dailies were sent, everything was sent to Millennium, everything was in English because we shot the ending at the beginning only at the end of the movie.
Okay.
So, and then the movie really, the first 20 minutes are all in Japanese. But they were okay with it because they understood that the audience, especially of that genre, it's okay to speak Japanese. It's a part really it's a part of the genre, you know?
Yes, true.
And one of the producers that I had was the late Danny Lerner. And he was a wonderful, wonderful guy. And he really loved the Japanese movies and Japanese cinema. And I remember when we were shooting those scenes, he was sitting on the set and really enjoying to see how we did it in Japanese.
Nice. So I have to ask, I know you said you weren't really a huge fan of competition. So what are your thoughts on UFC and the MMA? Is that something you're a fan of?
Sometimes I watch it, but not really. I mean, usually I watched it when Machida was fighting.
Yes.
We're mainly karate guys. But I think it's like a regular driver and a speed race driver. What it's missing is the spirit of politeness.
Okay.
The spirit of martial arts, of being composed, being polite, giving respect. Some have it, some don't have it. Sometimes it feels like it becomes WWE and it's a pity, you know. So if it will be there, I'll watch it, but I'm not a fan.
See, and I used to be, yeah, kind of the same thing. I used to watch it, and it's just I don't like kind of the way it's gone, and same thing. If I'm like sitting someplace at a restaurant and it's on the TV, I'll watch it, but I'm not going to usually go out of my way, unfortunately, to watch it. So
I like to watch K1 when it was there,
yes.
Muay Thai, you know.
Yeah,
this was good. So
cool.
Sanshu.
Nice. Who are some martial artists that you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts? So if you could pick 3 or 4 martial artists that you just think are, amazing, they're on the top of the list, they really influence you, you look up to them. Who are 3 or 4 names that you'd put on that list?
My teacher, Thomas Weber, because I learned a lot from him.
Okay.
And then, it's people that you really see the way that they fought. You have Andy Hug from Kyokushinkai, you have Yoshinao Nambu from Sankukai, but any top practitioner in any style for me, it's a pleasure to watch. From Kanazawa to who is Shotokan, a practitioner, right? The late Kanazawa, to Morio Igaona, who is Goju-ryu practitioner, to Shogokuniba, who is a Shitoryu practitioner. Any top artist is top artist. You have now Tetsuya Naka is a JKA guy. He was in the movie Kurobi. I don't know if you saw the movie. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to watch him. So any top artist is a top artist, you know.
Nice, good. All right, so what advice would you give someone who's thinking of getting involved in martial arts for the first time? They've never done it before, and they just want to know, what should I look for in a school? What should I look for in an instructor?
Okay. First of all, you want to understand which art you want. But let's say, even if you don't know, go and watch a few times training in the school that you want to choose. You want to see if the school is disciplined. You want to see how is the teacher teaching, how hard the students are working or training, how clean is the school, what's the attitude or the atmosphere in the dojo, because it should be friendly atmosphere, yet people have to train really hard and serious. If they are wearing a gi, colorful gi, red, zebra, purple, and have patches on them, I would be a bit eerie, because less is more. If you see a white gi or even a black gi and less patches or no patches, it's the best. Of course, me, a karateka, I have more. I will look at the white gi, but it doesn't matter. You want to choose a place that they are serious about what they're doing. Belt, I think that all of the concept of belts in the last 2, maybe 3 decades lost its purpose.
Right.
And maybe you don't really need it. I mean, look, all of the concept of belts, really, if you think about it, started in the 30s. And so it's not really traditional. You know, it's less than 100 years old.
Yeah.
And maybe it's time to change it or replace it. It doesn't mean anything. That's basically my main the main advice. You go, you watch a few times, you talk to the instructors. If somebody calls himself master or whatever, I don't know. You don't call yourself a master. It's like if your students call you sensei or whatever, it's something else. But less is more. Karate is about, or any martial arts, the ego stays outside the dojo. And it's about being humble, because only if you're humble, you can continue to learn more and more and more. Instructor trains with the student, really trains hard. That means he's serious, you know. Sometimes to stand on the side and just to bark orders or hardly not to demonstrate anything is not a good thing.
Yeah.
You want to be in a place where the instructor really is in there and is training hard himself, you know, and demonstrates and explain every final detail, but not too much, because you still have to train, you know.
Right.
You have to know what to emphasize and when.
Nice. I like that answer a lot. That's really cool. So in all your years of martial arts, is there 1 or 2 philosophies you've learned that are just super important to you? You keep coming back to them. You use them in your everyday life. Just like 1 or 2 philosophies that kind of rise to the top.
Yes. First of all, when I was about to open my first dojo, my teacher, Thomas Weber, came and told me, I'll give you one advice. Takes 10 years to build a reputation, and it takes 10 seconds to destroy it. And I kept this advice in everything that I do. So everything that I do. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. Second, you try to seek perfection, because remember, the goal, let me kind of not quote Funakoshi, but in a way, the ultimate aim of karate or martial arts is not victory or defeat, but perfection of character. So no matter what you do, you try to do it always to the best as your ability. I call it the coffee test. What is the coffee test? Let's say I'm going to ask you for coffee, okay? And you're going to bring me black coffee in a cup, okay? Mm-hmm. And I will ask you, okay, can I get the sugar or sweetener? And you'll bring me the sugar and the sweetener. And then I'll ask you, okay, can I get some cream? And you'll bring me the cream. Okay, can I please get the stir? You'll bring me the stir. Okay, this is somebody who doesn't train in martial arts. If you train in martial arts, if I'll ask for coffee, you'll bring me the coffee with the sugar, with the stir, and with the cream. Okay, yep. So it's a matter of attitude. That's second thing.
Okay.
And third, there is a beautiful saying in karate called karate ni sentenashi, no first attack in karate, which means you walk straight, but you keep your ego down. You want to learn, and you don't really start a fight, or you try to avoid confrontation. Basically, you're looking for peaceful solution. Doesn't mean when I said there are no first attack in karate, that you have to start defending yourself, because if you sense danger, you can initiate your attack because you're feeling the danger.
Nice. Great answer. I like that. One more film I wanted to ask you about. I was just going through your IMDb and I didn't realize you were involved in this. How did you get involved with the new Gladiators documentary? I love that documentary so much.
So I'm a karate bum, right?
Uh-huh.
And this term karate bum, I learned from my friend Don Warner. Don Warner, and you should talk to Don. Don was one of the pioneers of karate in Canada. He was Canadian karate champion in 1971. I used to read his articles in, official karate in the 70s. And I met him by chance in 1998 when he moved to LA, really by chance.
Okay.
We talked, and we basically opened on the side a company that was called Rising Sun Productions. The goal was to do martial arts instructionals and kind of documentaries. Now, you have to understand why I did it. My goal was not really to make money out of it. My goal was really to meet all the best in any art, to understand what is behind, what the ideas behind their art and their discipline, and why they do it and why they teach it like this, and like a sponge to absorb it. What I learned is that there are many paths to the mountain. We all know that. And every path is right as long as you understands the principle of that path. Doesn't matter which style you train, because every style and every discipline, it's the same principle more or less, and they emphasize one or another thing from that discipline.
Okay.
Now, let's go to the new Gladiator. We don't met George Waite. George Waite was the business partner of Ed Parker.
Mm-hmm.
He had an idea to do a documentary about karate fighters, and he and Ed Parker convinced Elvis to do it, because Elvis was a karate bum and was really a karate lover.
Yep.
Started training in Germany, Shotokan, in I think 1961 or 1959 when he went to the army.
Yep.
And he kept on training, and then he trained under Ed Parker. And Elvis was excited about it and basically financed the movie. And they started shooting it, they started shooting a documentary about karate fighters that went to Europe, and then they continue with some tournaments in the States. The movie was never completed because Elvis basically passed away at a certain point. The producer had a divorce. Nothing happened with that movie. And for years, it was sitting, believe it or not, in the garage of the producer of George Waite. In 2002, Don basically got it from the producer. We got this, and we got the footage of Bruce Lee that was later leaked into the internet. Don't ask me how. The 8.5 minutes of him in color is demonstration in the Long Beach demonstration, 1967.
1960.
Okay. So basically, we completed the movie. I mean, I put it back into the editing system. I finished it. It was really, it needed some massaging, and that's the story of the movie. We released it really to the martial arts community. If you're not a martial artist, it's not really interesting.
Right.
If you're into the martial arts, especially karate, it's really the golden age of karate. You see Benny Urquidez there. It's just fantastic. I think it's a good movie, Darnell Garcia and Ray Corbin and Benny Urquidez and Ron Marchini.
Nice.
Emil Farkas is there. So and many others. Even we actually released it from the work print because there was no money really to complete it from new print. But that's the movie. Yeah, that's how I got involved in that project.
Nice. Well, thank you for doing it. Like I said, I love it. I as soon as I saw, because I had heard rumors about the footage, and everyone, for years, this footage is out there and no one knows where it is. And then when I finally heard that the footage was found when they were releasing it, I think I was probably one of the first people to order a copy. So
you should talk to Don Warner. Don Warner has this amazing ability of finding like treasures and putting it. He's pretty amazing. He's pretty amazing person, and,
nice.
and talking about somebody that has a vast martial arts background and knowledge.
Okay.
Don is the man.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him. All right, I have a few fun questions to wrap it up here. So this one, I'm curious because you talked about you have a nice library. So what is your favorite martial arts book?
So I'll tell you, I bought my very first book, I think in 1972, that was This is Karate of Masoyama.
Okay.
I bought it. I spent all my bar mitzvah money to buy that book. You have to understand, then to get, there was one place in Tel Aviv that used to sell Black Belt magazine, another place that used to sell Official Karate magazine, and another place that used to sell the French Karate magazine that was called Karate and now Karate Bushido. It was an amazing magazine. Color pictures, totally glossy picture, amazing. And I went and I bought This is Karate again. My parents didn't know. So my heart is with that book. But then after I bought, that's the classics, Nakayama Dynamic Karate. I have a huge library. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I really have a huge library. There's some amazing books. There is really a good, if somebody is interested about karate and the history of karate, there is a book that is a little bit unknown, but it's an excellent book by John Sayles, and the name is Unante. Totally not commercialistic name, but if you're a karateka, a serious karateka, and you want to know about karate, that's the book to have. And it's a great book. It's totally underrated. People don't know about it.
Okay, cool. I will look into that. So, all right. So this one you maybe don't have an answer for. I'm not sure if you ever played video games, but do you have a favorite martial arts video game?
No, I never played video games.
Okay, good.
But I'll tell you a story. Story. I did this series, WMAC Masters.
Yes, loved it.
And the producers of the series wanted the fights to look real. And I told them, look, it's impossible because it's martial arts. You have to hide the heat, you know? And then this was around 1994. My brother came to visit me with his family, and we went with the kids, you know, to Vegas. And on the way in the airport or somewhere, I see a game that was called then, what was the name of the game? Virtual Fighter.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the game, and I'm saying, wow, look at this. Look at the camera move. And it inspired me. It gave me the idea to do what I did in WMAC Masters, continuous shots without cuts. That was hard to do.
Yeah.
But I got this kind of idea, or I call it idea, from watching a Virtual Fighter.
Cool. Yeah, I've actually had quite a few people from WMAC Masters on my show. Herb Perez was one of my first guests when I started the show. I had Carmichael Simon on the show.
Yeah.
Next week's episode is actually Lynette Love. Christine Bannon Rodriguez has been on the
Give
show.
her my love, wonderful. Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. So I've been lucky. It's reached out to a few of them, and then Christopher Landis, who wrote the book. So yes. Yep. Yes. He was on the show also. So I've been lucky having those. So yeah.
You should also interview Willie Johnson.
Oh yeah, Willie was on my show. Yep, Willie was on.
Oh.
I'm working on Hakeem. Hakeem said yes. I haven't been able to schedule him.
Hakeem is a great guy. I also worked with him in Bulgaria when we did the US Youth Tour. Awesome guy. Excellent guy.
Very cool. Yeah, like I said, I'm working. There's quite a few on that list I'm trying to work on and stuff. I got my dream guests. I mean, getting on. I'm over 90 guests now since my show started, so it's been going pretty well.
Good.
But
yeah,
all right,
that was an amazing experience. That show. It was really amazing.
I miss it. I wish they'd bring it back. It'd be kind of cool.
It came too early.
I agree.
It preceded its time.
Yep, I would agree. About 10 to 15 years ahead of its time. I think it could have been huge. So
yeah, 10 years. Yeah, yes.
Nice.
Yes.
All right, now so these last few questions, you can't pick anything that you've worked on. So this one, a favorite martial arts TV show.
First martial arts TV show. Wow, TV show.
Whether it's old one or a current one, I know you were.
Wow. I don't have. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. Now this one could be tough because you've done a lot of movies, but how about a favorite martial arts movie that you weren't involved in?
So Fury.
Nice. Kind of figured that's what you'd pick. So
Absolutely.
Okay. And this one, final question. This one I'm really curious about. Now, this one doesn't have to be a martial arts movie, just a favorite movie fight scene.
Favorite movie fight scene?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's start with in the martial arts movies. Once Upon in China 2, the leather fight scene.
Nice. Okay.
Toy Hark. That was amazing.
Good one.
Favorite fighting scene in other movies? I don't know. Look, when I was a child, I loved the fight scene in You Only Live Twice.
Yes.
There is a good fight scene there, like when he's fighting the sumo guy, but from Russia with Love.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, I'm very technical, and I will absolutely choose something that is technical, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just mentioned, I mean, the Soy Hark, Once Upon a Time in China, is a great fight scene.
It is a great fight scene.
But I highly recommend for people to see Kurobi. Kurobi, also Black Belt. Did you see that movie?
Yes.
So maybe not the final scene, but some of the scenes are really nice because they took basic techniques.
Okay.
And the basic techniques really work. It's not a lot. The concept is less is more.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved it. I just loved it.
Nice. I will mark that one down too. All right. Before I let you go, any upcoming projects you want to talk about? Yeah. So your episode will be on in about a month. So it'll be in December when your episode comes up. So any upcoming stuff you want to promote? Anything you're working on that you can talk about?
I'm working on the last movie that I just completed. I mean, shooting. It's not really a martial arts movie, but of course there is martial arts and there is fighting. It is called Hellfire. You know, I just don't like to talk about movies before they're finished, before they're done.
Okay.
Don't to jinx it, you know.
Okay. No, yeah. I was looking at that one. I just know Harvey Keitel's in that, so that's kind of cool.
He's not fighting.
That's probably a good thing. Nice. Cool.
But I tell you who did all of his fighting stuff. Stephen Lang.
Oh, really?
And he did a great job.
Very cool.
And the main fight really is him and Johnny Bosch from the Power Rangers.
Oh, really?
Johnny was a fight choreographer, and it's his contribution to the movie is amazing. It was him and Randy Hall that really were there behind the fighting and the action, and they did an amazing job.
Okay. So does Stephen Lang, does he have a martial arts background or no?
He told me he trained in Kyokushinkai for 11 years, but
really?
Years ago, you know.
Okay, man, I should try to get him on my show too. See, those are the people I want to get. The people who my guests don't know are martial artists, or aren't known for martial arts. Those are the fun ones to get.
Dolph Lundgren.
Yep.
Dolph was in the movie, but again, he didn't fight. And I did a movie with Dolph when he was fighting. But you know, when I met Dolph the first time in 1980, I was in Sweden training. His best friend was the best friend of my sensei, Thomas Weber.
Okay.
And at this time, he didn't know that he will be an actor. I didn't know that I would be a director. We just karate band.
That's
and
awesome.
Who knew?
Yeah, he's another one. I've reached out, and obviously, he's big. Some of the bigger names are a little harder to get, unfortunately, but he'd be fun to talk to. Another one I'd love to talk to is John Cusack. I mean, he trained with Benny the Jet for how many years? Yeah,
yes.
Benny's another one I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get Benny, and
By the way, talking about fighting, there is a great fight scene between Jackie Chan and Benny the Jet in Wheels on Meals.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
That was an amazing fight scene.
Yeah. No, Jackie Chan. Anything with Jackie Chan, man. He does some great stuff, and he's known more for the comedy and the funny stuff. But man, he's an amazing martial artist too.
And imagine yourself him and Benny the Jet, and it's a great fight.
That's cool.
Highly recommend.
That's really, really cool. Isaac, I want to say thank you so much. This has been so much fun. You're an amazing storyteller. Just enjoyed hearing your stories, and I've always, like I said, I've loved your movies. Ever since I started watching them. I think Savat was the first one I watched. But I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and I'm so glad you agreed to do this. It's been such an honor to have you on the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for thinking about it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.